So welcome to the channel, everyone. Today's video, we're taking a look at one of the most popular 4K drones that's available on the market. Now this is the Xiaomi FIMI X8 SE, and this drone packs a punch, and it's price aggressive to where it's going to steal some of the sales from DJI. Xiaomi is making DJI a little bit nervous. So the Mavic Pro and the Mavic Air and Mavic have been on the market for a while. Most popular drones out there, don't get me wrong, but issue is they're priced a lot higher than something like this. So the Mavics, depending on which one you purchase, can be priced anywhere from $600 all the way to $1,500. This particular one is a little bit over $400, $430, depending where you pick it up. So this one was picked up by Bangoods, and you can tell in the corner right here, box is really beat up. So hopefully this was packaged correctly, but shipping looked like it went through a lot, as you can see. So some of the key features about this quadcopter: records in 4K 100 megabits per second, does have a 3-axis gimbal, the arms are designed to fold in, and that makes it ideal for traveling. Does have a smart track in flight, so smart features where you can have follow me, or you can have it do waypoints and stuff like that. We're going to demonstrate that in a later video. Does have 5K range, guys, so we're going to do a range test and just to see how close this is. As far as the flight time, you're getting 33 minutes, which is pretty high. If you guys are familiar with any quadcopter on the market today, they always advertise a lot higher than their actual performance. So this particular drone, I've done a lot of research, and this actually comes close to that 33 flight time. So we're going to test that out. And last but not least, it does have precise vision positioning system. What that means is that under the body it does have a camera as well as an optical flow sensor, and that actually detects the ground, the height, and focuses on a particular object and makes it land as close to home as possible. So we're going to test that out as well in a future flight video. But before we do that, let's go ahead and see what's in the box. So first thing in the box, we do have a very detailed instruction manual, guys. This is going to go over the buttons, the capacities, the limitations. Everything you need to know is in this booklet, so definitely recommend reading this before you go ahead and try operating this device. We also have some safety instructions, and we have two sides here. So first thing, let's take out the actual drone itself, and this looks pretty amazing, pretty mean. I'm just going to put it to the side for now. Go ahead and pull out the controller, pretty good as well. Put that to the side, and let's see what else is in the box. First thing, we do have 3 USB cables. So this will plug into the controller, and this will plug into your phone. So we do have a micro USB. A lot of Android phones use them. We do have a Lightning, and this is for your Apple device, so your iPhone or your iPad. And we do have a USB-C, and some of the newer Samsung phones use this, as well as some of the newer Google phones. So we do have most phones covered right here within these cables, and like I said, they're just tied together right now, and I'll show you how these hook into the controller a little bit later. Do have 3 sets of propellers. All right, and before you guys start freaking out, let's go ahead and check out the other set. All right, so this is your second set, and I'll take one of each propeller just to kind of show you the difference, so you'll know where to mount this based on what's marked. So on this propeller, you can see it does have a gray slit right there. This one doesn't. And if you look on the drone itself, there's a gray slit right there. This one doesn't. So how it usually works is diagonally. So this and this will be the same prop. This and this will be the same prop. Like I said, I'll demonstrate that a little bit later for the setup. Power cable. And even though they did send the Chinese plugs, I do have a Chinese to American that I'll go ahead and use. But this is just a standard bunny ear plug that goes into the brick right here. Charging the battery is pretty straightforward, guys. These are the contacts. You do have the contacts here. If you look right here, there's angled, and it's angled right here on the battery as well, guys. So pretty straightforward. All you need to do is turn the battery like this, put it on, plug this in, and your battery is charging. So here's the drone itself. Looks pretty mean. No sensors in the front right here. That's just the design essentially. You do have the gimbal right here with a gimbal protector. If you want to call it that, it's just a foam protector, and you just pull it right off. And that reveals the 3-axis gimbal. So if you look right here, here's your camera. You can see the gimbal does have adjustment or compensation for your yaw, your roll, as well as your pitch, guys. So when this powered up, you'll see that the gimbal will remain steady. So if you rock the quad left to right, up and down, forward, back, it's compensated for, and it will essentially keep that image steady in the front. I do want to point out that this does have rubber dampeners here as well as on the top, both sides, and if you look underneath, you do have some more rubber dampeners here as well. So that will keep the image hopefully nice and steady, and that's something we'll be able to verify once we have this powered up. So of course the big selling feature about these drones are the folding arms. So fold out the back first, then the front, and you can hear a nice clicking sound when you fold it, guys, and kind of springs back in place. So you can see it kind of springs by itself, which is absolutely necessary because the last thing you want is to be flying and your arm is just halfway out like this. Good thing about this is that it actually springs back in place. So same thing for the other arm. Pull it out, pull it out. And looking around the drone, you can see you do have landing legs here on the front, on the back as well. Underneath, you do have a camera. You also have your optical flow sensor right here, and that helps position the drone while it's in the air, especially when you're landing. This right here is just a big heat sink, guys. You do have an LED in the back of your drone. Now under that, probably hard to see, but you do have some vents right here as well. You do have LEDs on the front props, and I believe this one is red and this one's green, but we'll test it out once we have it powered up. And as far as the side, you do have a door right here. Let me go ahead and pop that open. And hopefully you guys can see. So essentially we do have a micro USB right here. That's not for charging, that's for firmware updates and other things. You do have your SD slot. So this is where you'll insert your card to record your video. Right there you do have a reset button. Very hard to see. And this switch right here, if you look closely, that switches that way and that way. And it's really hard to see, but it says Wi-Fi and it says remote control. So essentially, I'm going to switch it to remote control, but what that does, it allows you to fly this drone with your cell phone even if you don't have the controller. So obviously that's going to give you a little bit less range, but if you're in a bind and you just have your phone, you can go ahead and use your phone to control this quadcopter. To remove the battery, you're going to go ahead and squeeze on two buttons on the side, then you're going to go ahead and just pick up. So this is what it looks like without the battery. And here's the battery itself, guys. This is a pretty large battery for this size quadcopter. So as far as the specs of the batteries, weight is about 275 grams, capacity is 4500 milliamp per hour. It is 11.4 volts, and it takes about 2 hours on the charger for this to go from 0 to 100. So let's go ahead and install the props. Essentially, once the props installed, it still folds with the props installed, so no need to take them off for every flight. So here too, you can see one has a slit, one doesn't. All you need to do here is push down, turn, and then it's in. So let's try that again. Push, turn, out, push, turn, and there you're going locked in. So it's pretty straightforward. All right, so got all the props installed, and essentially you should still be able to fold everything with the props installed. Still able to store it away. No issues there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the controller. So this controller is another big selling feature of this drone. Well put together, well thought out, obviously fits really nice in your hands, and it does have a ton of features. So specifications for this controller, it does have a built-in battery. This is a 39 milliamp hour battery. It does charge via USB, 5 volts, and of course you can put your tablet, your phone directly in this controller, which is one of the biggest selling points. Just go ahead and slide it out, and we're going to test it on a couple devices a little bit later. So these are your antennas. You want them to be perpendicular with the drone. So if you're holding your controller like this, the drone should be directly in front, or if you're holding it like this, kind of flip them up and just make sure you're pointing them directly to the drone. Of course, these are for your videos as well as your RC control. It does have a nice rubber right here, feels really good, and tucked away you do have the 2 joysticks. So let's go ahead and pull those out. So the joysticks, again, well put together. So the surrounding area is rubber, and on top you can see it does have little teeth to help you grip it a little bit better. So let's go ahead and install these. So like I said, these can be left on the controller. If you're traveling, you can't take them out, you do have a place to essentially store them away. So let's go over the buttons. So you do have your return to home and your regular operation button. So if you guys are in trouble, if you lose sight of the drone, flip return to home and it should come home. It does have the power button on the bottom. Click it once, gives you the battery level. You're gonna turn the actual controller or the drone on. You're gonna do a short press, long press, and there it goes, turned on. Let's go ahead and turn it back off for now. All right, you do have your sticks right here. So this is your takeoff button, so automatic takeoff, automatic landing. And this is your 5 directional button. So if you push it up, that's gonna switch between your map and your FPV. If you flip it down, that's gonna switch between gimbal and your center down. If you flip it to the left, so that will turn your battery information on. Flip it to the right, that will turn on your self check-in interface. And it does push down in the center. That's just your default on and off media library. So pretty cool that they do have that built into the controller. So turn it over, you do have your dials. So this dial clicks continuously, and this is for your exposure. So if you guys are looking at the image on your phone, you can use this to adjust the brightness on your camera. This is your gimbal, so use this to rotate your gimbal up and down. And you do have 2 buttons right here. You do have the A and your B button. Essentially, this button is to take a picture and this button is to start your recording. So pretty cool. You open underneath. You do have a USB and you do have a micro USB. So essentially the micro USB is to just charge the controller, and the USB is to connect to the phone that you do have built in. So I'm going to demonstrate that in a little bit. But before I do, let's go ahead and check and see which devices actually fit this controller. Fitting your device in here is pretty straightforward. Depending on what device you have, this is the iPhone XS Max, so that will route in here. So it's just cool how they included a nice hideaway for your cables, guys. That way it's not in the way when you're actually using the device. So of course it'll look better out of the phone. So that's what it will look like essentially. You'll pop this guy up like this. That will go in the USB. And that's basically it for the setup, guys. You're ready to start flying. Now here's your iPad mini, and same basic thing, guys. You can see this is a pretty big device. Still fits. If you guys want a bigger screen, they do have you covered, and this is probably how I'm gonna have it set up for the most part. So just downloaded FIMI Navi, and that's the actual app that controls everything within this drone. So before we do, let's go ahead and power both devices on. So we're gonna start with the drone. I'm gonna do a short press, long press. There we go. Same thing on the control. Same thing on the controller. Alright, so give that some time to power up. You can see the drone is flashing amber, and telling me everything is getting warmed up and everything's getting situated for your flight. We're going to go ahead and launch the application. So there's the FIMI navigation app. You will need to sign up to use this app. You will need an email, just like you do with the DJI products. There is a firmware available, so let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll jump back to the flight settings. So while waiting for it to warm up, guys, do have your amber LED in the back. Now it's solid, so that indicates that it is connected to the controller. If you look at the controller itself, you can see that the LED is now white. Take a look at the front. You can see we do have the green LED on the right side, do have the red LED on the left side, and the gimbal. Here's your roll. Here's your yaw. You can see it kind of follows you. And of course, your pitch, you can see it's actually moving up and down. And let's launch the application again. Go ahead and we're going to enter device. And here we go in the flight control. So first things first, you do have your GPS there. If you click between that and the image, it will go ahead and just rotate. As far as the gimbal, remember we do have the gimbal control on the left side. So if you essentially roll this right here, it should move the image up and down. All right, so that moves it all the way down and moves it all the way back up. Pretty cool. Right side, this is your ISO. All right, you can see the image getting a little bit darker. And you can adjust it back up. This button right here is to take your picture. Photo taken. And this one right here is to start recording video. as you can see, the timer on the video is starting to run right there. So let's go ahead and we're just going to stop that for now. You do have your measurements in the top left, so you do have your height. So if you're taking off, this is your vertical height. So this is your vertical speed. So how fast you're going up, how fast you're going down. This is your speed, and this is in meters per second right now, but you can go ahead and change it, and we'll get into that in a little bit. You do have all your settings right here in the top, so you can click on either one, and then we'll go to the one that you select. So if you click on GPS, we'll go to that one. Click on your radio, we'll go to that one, and if you click on battery, we'll go straight to your battery. But essentially it's the same menu, guys. All you have to do is slide up. So click right there, you can see you have the flight controls, you have your RC, you have your directional button, and you do have your battery on the end like we're going over. So let's go ahead and we're going to dig deep into these settings, guys. So first setting gives you your limit of flight. So this is how fast you want it to be able to go. So if you click on the drop down, all right, we're going to max it out. We want it to go as fast as possible. So limit of flight distance is also on, and that's set to 1,000 meters. So we're going to turn that off, saying turn off the limited distance. The drone may exceed the maximum distance permitted according to your local laws. I'm going to click OK. So no limit set right now. Same thing, limit of height set to 120. Just going to leave it as is. Your height to return home. So return home is essentially when you get in trouble, or if your quad or your drone runs out of battery, we'll automatically go into failsafe, take off, and head back home. So you want it to go up to a certain height, that way it doesn't hit objects on the way back. So right now set to 30 meters, hit the drop down, can set it all the way to 120 meters. So I'm just going to set mine to 40. I'm going to leave it there. Beginner mode, that limits your speed, your distance, and your height. Gonna leave that off. You do have a sport mode, that's off by default, but if you guys want to get some more speed, you can go ahead and turn it on, and I will demo that during the actual flight test. You do have your precise landing turned on. That's when it uses all the bells and whistles on the bottom, the optical flow, as well as the camera on the bottom, to make sure that you land exactly where you took off from, or as close to it as possible. You have the option to calibrate your compass, check your IMU. You do have a fail-safe, home point, update your track. You can enable backward flying and smart track. Next, you do have your RC calibration. So you can go ahead and calibrate your device from here. You do have your stick mode. Right now it's set to mode 2. All right, so you can go ahead and go to mode 1 or mode 3 if you wanted to. Some people fly differently, so they might want to go ahead and check out those options. Alright, so 5 directional buttons. You can customize these buttons right here, and we'll go over them in a little bit as far as what each direction does. Next, you do have your gimbal calibration, gimbal pitch speed, advanced settings. Go into advanced, gimbal gain 100%, gimbal adjust. Alright, over to battery. So it gives you the current status of the battery, what's remaining, capacity, your temperature. So return to home when battery only enough to return to home. So basically it's a fail-safe saying, hey, please return to home when my battery is only enough to get me home. Land when battery is enough to land. So if you're pushing your return to home and the quad is saying, oh my God, I'm gonna die, what it's gonna do is just go ahead and land itself. So on the bottom, you do have your map. You do have the option to go to a satellite or a standard map. And you do have the metric or imperial unit. So I'm gonna go ahead and select imperial. Now I live in the US, I like my miles per hour, my feet, that's what I'm used to. But if you guys are overseas or somewhere else that uses a metric system, you do have that option in there. All right, firmware update, maintenance mode, those are the 2 final options. To the right, you do have your settings. So hit the 3 lines right there. You do have your automatic and manual mode. This is for your camera. You also do have your exposure. You click to the camera. You do have your format, your video mode, video size. So right now it's set to 4K at 30 frames per second. Hit the drop down. You do have 4K at 24 frames per second as well. You also have 2560 by 1440, which I think is 2K, and you do have 1080p. And with this, you do have it at 100 frames per second, 60, 30, and 24. And 720, you do have it at 200 frames per second, which gives you a super slow motion. Pretty cool. So we're just gonna leave it at 4K, 30 frames per second. These are your settings. So your grid line, you can go ahead and turn that on. Gives you the information about my SD card. You can format it. You can reset the cam power again. So further down, you do have the option to switch between photo and video. This is, of course, is your record button or your shoot button. And this is actually open up the photos that you just taken. So this is from earlier, and this is a video from earlier as well. So in the bottom, can't forget these. So you do have two very important buttons. So this button, I'm not going to use it right now, but this is your takeoff button. You hit this right here, it will automatically take off, and I don't want to do that since I'm inside. This other button, this gives you your intelligent flight modes, guys. So you do have your waypoint, smart track, orbit, you have tap to fly, droney, you do have the spiral, and within flight mode you do have cinematic view, tripod, course lock, as well as fixed wing. So we're going to test a lot of that out when we get to the actual in-flight demo. So the other thing we got to take a look at is this 5-button control. Pretty cool. So if you click to the left, you can see it brings up your battery information. Click back to the left, it removes it. Click up, brings up the map. If you click down, it will actually just rotate your gimbal all the way down. So gimbal went all the way down, all you see is black. Click to the right, that gives you your status. And if you press, that brings you to your photos and your album. So pretty cool. I love these shortcuts. And in the setting, it does give you the option to customize these buttons. So pretty good touch. So to arm the motors, all you have to do, down to the left. Very powerful. So essentially it's doing the self-test just to make sure that the props are on right. So if your props weren't on correctly just now, what will happen is that those will actually go flying. So this was a very long video, but it's one of those things where I feel like it's necessary to go through all the different settings, see what's possible with this drone, see what options you have, and that way if you guys are on the fence looking to purchase, you do have a lot of information. So we're gonna cut this video here right now. The next video we're gonna go outside, we're gonna do some flying, test it out just to see the actual quality of the photo. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you on the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.